sentenced to 31 months in prison for that swiftly deleted tweet, and she served over a year.
Oh, my God.
Now, I'm not saying the tweet was nice, right? The tweet was a horrible tweet, and she says it was a horrible tweet. That's why she deleted it.
Welcome to Rogan Recap Show, where we squeeze a 1 hour and 45 minutes into about 15 minutes so you catch the big ideas, the wild moments, and the takeaways in one quick hit. This week, Joe Rogan sits down with author and satirist Andrew Doyle, a leading voice against the authoritarian creep of woke ideology. Doyle, creator of the infamous Titanium McGrath, returns to the JRE to expose the chilling reality of free speech in the UK and how its erosion serves as a stark warning for the rest of the world. You might think America is the only place grappling with censorship. But the UK is arresting thousands for social media posts, jailing citizens for deleted tweets. What if their polite society is actually a blueprint for global authoritarianism? Andrew Doyle paints a grim picture of free speech in the United Kingdom, revealing a system where expressing an opinion can lead to criminal charges. For Americans, the concept of being arrested for a social media post might seem unthinkable, protected as we are by the First Amendment. But Doyle details how the UK's hate speech laws, particularly the grossly offensive standard, are used to silence dissent.
More than 12,000 people have been arrested in the UK in the past year for social media posts. And if you read some of those social media posts, they're not even remotely terrifying. It's not like I'm going to grab a knife and go cut the head off of every immigrant I see. Like, hey, buddy, maybe we should lock this guy up and evaluate him. He sounds like a crazy person. Like, no, the immigrants are coming into this fucking country and creating all this crime. Knock on the door, you're going to jail.
I worry that Americans think we're mad. Sometimes I think...
We do.
Yeah, do you?
We do now, yeah. We think you've lost it.
Yeah.
We also think something happened where your leaders are intentionally trying to tank your country. It seems like they're trying to bring in as many migrants as possible, cater to them, not to the British people, and do it openly so that everyone knows what they're doing, and then create chaos on the streets because of it.
Yeah, I mean, people have a phrase for that, anarcho-tyranny, where you punish people who aren't breaking the law, but you protect those who are. And
right.
I think with I don't know the extent that Americans know the stat you quoted, that came from the Times newspaper in London, which had a freedom of information request to the police, found out that it's 12,000 a year on average. So that's like 30 a day, not just being investigated or looked into, but being arrested.
But over the last few years only, if you go back, it's only like 1,000 or 500.
It was 3,000 last time we spoke, back in 2020. 3,000.
Was it really
a
year?
It was.
Back then?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So we already had that problem. I mean,
I didn't know it was that many. That's crazy.
Joe expresses disbelief at the sheer number, highlighting the alarming shift from what was once considered a polite society to one where pub talk has become illegal. Doyle explains that this isn't new, but has escalated dramatically, with laws criminalizing anything deemed grossly offensive or causing needless anxiety. This vague legal framework allows for subjective interpretation, leading to absurd arrests for memes, jokes, and even swiftly deleted tweets. The case of Lucy Connolly, jailed for over a year for an angry, deleted tweet, stands as a chilling example of this draconian approach. Doyle argues that woke ideology, often presented as inclusive and compassionate, is in fact a manifestation of an authoritarian impulse. It uses sweet-sounding language like equity and gender-affirming care to mask agendas that are often exclusionary or harmful.
Things like equity. Well, that sounds a lot like equality, doesn't it?
Right.
But it doesn't mean equality. It means treating people unequally to ensure equal outcomes according to group identity. That's a very different thing. You say you're talking about, let's make everything inclusive. But what you really mean is let's exclude anyone who disagrees with what we've got to say.
Right.
So you're using language to mean the exact opposite. They say gender-affirming care. But do they mean that? Or do they mean affirming what is effectively a pseudoscientific belief among vulnerable people? So it's all about misusing language, because most people, I like to think, are pretty decent.
Yeah.
Like, most people want to be kind and want to be fair. And when you hear these activists saying, be kind, be compassionate, or else, right? You kind of think, okay, well, maybe their intentions are good, but also they're pretty scary. I mean, there was a weird thing with the woke thing, which was that on the one hand, it proclaimed to be this sort of great, virtuous, kind, progressive, right side of history. How often did you hear that phrase?
Right.
And at the same time, they're like dangerous dogs. Like you're like, oh, I better not piss them off. I better not say the wrong thing in the workplace because they'll destroy you.
Well, I always find that the most preposterous the idea is, and the least capable it is to stand up to scrutiny, the more violent the enforcement of that idea will be.
Yeah.
Because you cannot combat that. You can't defend that idea with logic, so you have to defend it with fear and force and just shouting people down. And that's what we saw. And it's a natural impulse of human beings.
Absolutely.
Like when you're arguing with a kid, when you're a kid and you're arguing with a kid and you say something, you don't even know you shut the fuck up. Like they just start scaring you.
So why is it though that some countries and some societies seem to...
He describes activists as dangerous dogs, proclaiming virtue while simultaneously destroying careers for perceived transgressions. This fear-driven enforcement, Doyle suggests, is a hallmark of ideas that cannot withstand logical scrutiny. A central theme of the conversation is the alarming detachment from truth in public discourse. Both Joe and Andrew lament the lack of intellectual curiosity, where narratives are prioritized over facts and external sources aren't checked. Doyle points to the BBC's documented ideological bias, including their editing of a Trump speech to misrepresent his words, as a prime example of institutions abandoning their responsibility to truth. This manipulation, he argues, creates a fertile ground for misinformation and even dangerous conspiracy theories to take root, as people lose trust in official sources. The discussion takes a fascinating turn into how identity politics is now actively revising history and art. Doyle brings up the astonishing claim that Shakespeare was a black woman. He meticulously debunks this, explaining how such theories often stem from a desire to tear down cultural icons or fit current identitarian narratives, rather than historical evidence. Joe, equally bewildered, highlights the absurdity of such claims.
A woman's written a book claiming that Shakespeare was a black woman.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. So this is a major spoiler alert. Shakespeare wasn't a black woman. By the way.
Crazy.
Yeah. I've got the book. I'm reading the book now. It is worse than you imagine. Part of the evidence.
How could it be worse than I imagine?
Because it's obviously not true, firstly, right?
Of course.
But she basically says in the book that it's important that it should be true. And therefore,
What?
Yeah. And in fact, the book opens with a picture of Shakespeare as a black woman, which was drawn by the author. That's so.
Is it a good drawing?
No, it's okay. I get. I don't want to mock someone else.
Can I see it?
If it's out, it's the front. It's the first. Oh, that's the book.
That's actually pretty good.
No, that's no.
That's a black woman?
No. That's a portrait of Amelia Lanier, who she says was Shakespeare, and she says that the portraits at the time were whitened to disguise her blackness. In the book itself,
how convenient.
In the book itself, you won't be able to get in the book, I don't think, Jamie. But in the book itself, there's a sketch that she's done. So it's like, I can imagine a publisher saying, "Oh, what evidence have you got?" And she's like, "Oh, well, I'll go and draw it for you." And that's sort of what.
She's black and Jewish.
Yeah, black Jewish. Well, actually, I mean, Amelia Lanier was part Moorish, but wasn't black, and she wasn't particularly dark-skinned.
And she was Jewish as well?
Yeah, part Jewish.
Okay, so who is this woman that they're saying actually was Shakespeare?
So she's called Amelia Lanier, or Amelia Bassano. And one of the arguments is that Shakespeare at the time, if she was a woman, wouldn't have been able to get published, because women couldn't get published. But Amelia Lanier was published. She had a book of poetry. So all of this stuff falls apart.
This revisionism extends to modern media, with examples like a Black Helen of Troy or non-binary characters in period dramas. Doyle argues that while colorblind casting can be fine, these instances often break immersion and feel like a sermon rather than authentic storytelling, ultimately creating backlash. This leads to a critical insight. The overreach of identity politics can paradoxically harm the very causes it claims to champion. Doyle and Rogan discuss how tying gay rights to the broader, often extreme, LGBTQIA+ movement has led to a decline in public support for gay marriage in the US, and even legal absurdities like men identifying as lesbians being allowed into women-only spaces in Australia. The conversation culminates in a stark warning about the weaponization of labels like racist and fascist. These terms, they argue, are thrown around so liberally that they lose all meaning, serving only to shut down debate and demonize opponents. This tactic, Doyle suggests, allows people to disengage from ideas they dislike, creating a monster that doesn't need to be understood or debated. It echoes the chilling observations of former KGB defector Yuri Bezmenov, who described a 4-stage process of ideological subversion designed to demoralize a nation and make it unable to discern truth.
To change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government.
Time for the Rogan Scorecard, where we give this episode a quick meta-review. First up, the curse-o-meter. Joe was feeling particularly expressive this episode, dropping F-bombs and other colorful language with a frequency that suggests he was genuinely fired up by Andrew's revelations. Full Joe Rogan Unleashed mode. Next, the rabbit hole rating. From UK hate speech laws to Shakespeare as a black woman, then to CIA conspiracies and AI censorship. This episode was a wild intellectual ride, earning a solid 8 out of 10. And finally, Andrew Doyle's guest coherence score. Doyle was exceptionally articulate and consistent, presenting complex arguments with clear, well-supported examples. A near-perfect 9 out of 10 for staying on point and making sense of the madness. If deciphering the UK's descent into speech control, or understanding how identity politics rewrites history, saved you from burning nearly 2 hours, then you've just experienced the power of Rogan Recap. If this helped you get the signal without the noise, hit like so other time poor Rogan fans can find it. Also, be sure to subscribe for more 15-minute breakdowns of every JRE episode, from stand-up legends to heavyweight scientists to full-tilt conspiracy theorists. We break it all down for you. Let us know in the comments, what was the most shocking revelation from Andrew Doyle? And you can find the full JRE episode link, guest links, and our community poll in the description below. Andrew Doyle is a prolific writer and cultural commentator. His most recent book, The End of Woke, How the Culture War Went Too Far and What to Expect from the Counter-Revolution, is a must-read for anyone interested in these topics. He's also the brilliant mind behind the satirical character Titania McGrath, a radical intersectionalist poet, whose absurd tweets often go viral and are hilariously mistaken for real progressive takes. Beyond his writing, Andrew is actively involved in the comedy world, now working with Rob Schneider in Arizona to foster creative freedom away from the UK's stifling environment. You can find links to all of Andrew's work and social media in the description.
It's one of my favorite follows.
But, I don't do it as often as I used to. I used to do it all the time. But then I wrote 2 books as her. I did a live show as her. By the way, when I did a live show, we were booked in for a week in the West End in London. And then the head of the theatre found out and scotched it. And actually said, oh, well, I didn't know about this. And the contracts were all signed. Absolutely crazy. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But we did the show. Well, it does matter, I suppose. But the point is that, so I did this character.
Have satire at your theater? My God.
Well, the theatre industry in the UK is even worse than comedy if you want to go there.
Oh.
It's really, really bad. But I've been in 2 different theatres in London. I've had the same experience of standing at the bar with a woman complaining because there's men pissing in her toilet and they're doing nothing about it because all the theatres in London have made it all gender neutral. They've gone completely hardcore woke. Anyway, that's not the point. But with Titania, what I find so surprising is every now and then if something annoys me, I'll tweet. Or if I think of something, I'll do so. I don't do it anywhere near as often as I used to. But even now, I did a tweet about, when all the people in London were marching about the peace deal in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. And I did a tweet as her saying, I've been marching all day. I want a peace deal that was not arranged by Donald Trump. We're never going to give up this fight, right? And Ted Cruz retweeted it saying, can this be real? So even now...
These fucking boomers. He's not even a boomer. I think he's younger than me.
This episode with Andrew Doyle underscores a critical truth. The battle for free speech and objective reality is far from over. It's a constant struggle against ideological capture, where language is weaponized and truth becomes a casualty. What's stuck with us is the fragility of these fundamental freedoms, and how quickly they can erode if we're not vigilant. It leaves us wondering, how do societies collectively resist demoralization and re-anchor themselves to truth? And what role do individuals play when institutions themselves become compromised? Before you go, remember that in addition to these episode recaps, we also produce Rogan Deep Dives. These are roughly 30-minute topic anthologies that synthesize high-impact clips from various JRE episodes into a structured, entertaining narrative, giving you a comprehensive overview of Joe Rogan's stance on recurring themes like aliens, DMT, or ancient civilizations. So hit that subscribe button for more essential JRE content, and make sure to check the description for all links. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next Rogan Recap.